The Unseen Road, Sarah's Thanksgiving Light. In the mountains of western North Carolina, the spirit of Thanksgiving was less about abundance and more about survival. By late November, the air was ablaze and the ground unforgiving stone. For the remote communities clinging to the high ridges of the Appalachians, winter was not a season, it was a siege. Food, medicine, and coal were luxuries earned with grueling labor. And when the first snow sealed the narrow, unpaved logging roads, the lifeline broke. Our unsung hero was Sarah Cline. Sarah wasn't a preacher or a politician. She was a widow with strong hands and a face carved by 50 years of mountain sun and sorrow. Her husband, a miner, had been lost years earlier, leaving her with a tiny cabin and 2 acres of hard-scrabble land at the end of a gravel road in Laurel Fork. But Sarah had something that didn't appear on any census, an abiding faith in the living promise of community. The broken wagon. The year of the story was particularly cruel. A blizzard, dubbed the early grave, hit the week before Thanksgiving, dropping 4 feet of snow that trapped families who had been waiting on the monthly supply wagon. The road was impassable, and the community of Laurel Fork, 30 families, mostly elders and children, were staring at empty pantries. Despair, a quiet poison, began to settle. On the Monday before the holiday, the county office in the valley radioed up a grim message. The roads wouldn't be clear for days. The children would have no meal. The sick would have no fever medicine. That night, Sarah knelt by the hearth. She didn't pray for a miracle. She prayed for strength to be the miracle. The spiritual truth she carried was simple. God's hand wasn't found in comfort, but in the willingness to serve the forgotten. The pilgrimage of provision. At dawn on Tuesday, while the rest of the community waited in frozen silence, Sarah opened up her small shed. She tied her 2-room sled, used only for hauling firewood, to her oldest mule, Jasper, a creature as stubborn and faithful as his owner. Sarah wasn't carrying much. She took all she had: 3 sides of preserved bacon, 2 sacks of dried beans, her last pound of cornmeal, and a single heavy sack of potatoes she carefully guarded from frost. But this wasn't the food for the valley. This was the seed of the mission. She pulled her knitted scarf tight, tied a thick rope to the sled's hitch for leverage, and started down the mountain. She wasn't seeking comfort. She was going to meet the promise of provision. For 2 days, Sarah became a silhouette against the white mountainside. She moved on sheer will, clearing drifts with an antique shovel, sometimes plunging her hands to find the path beneath. Jasper, breathing plumes of steam, pulled the sled, which was now empty of her supplies and loaded instead with hope and sacrifice. When Sarah finally staggered into the bustling supply town in the valley, she wasn't seeking warmth. She used her preserved food to trade for things the town had in bulk: flour, molasses, and crucial quinine for the influenza moving through the ridges. She didn't beg, she bartered. She bartered her survival for theirs. By Thursday morning, Thanksgiving Day, the snow had stopped. A blinding sun lit the peaks. A small group of men from Laurel Fork, emboldened by the sheer shame of staying still, had begun to clear the worst of the drifts. They worked with tired resignation, expecting nothing. Then they heard the soft, steady rhythm of hooves. Around the bend they saw Sarah. She was draped across Jasper's back, utterly spent, but the sled she dragged behind her was piled high. It wasn't the turkey and trimmings of a city holiday. It was the heavy sacks of flour, jars of broth, and enough dried food to make a single, simple pie for every family. The men rushed to help her, weeping not from hunger, but from sudden, profound knowledge that they had not been forgotten. A feast of the Spirit. That Thanksgiving in Laurel Fork was sparse, but it was the most abundant meal they had ever shared. The bread was made from the exchanged flour. The stew was thickened with the saved cornmeal, Every bite was an act of grace. Sarah Cline didn't receive thanks until days later, as she never sought it. Her heroism was not a flash of glory, but a slow, determined burn of empathy. She demonstrated that the deepest spiritual calling, the true essence of gratitude, is found not in receiving, but in the willingness to walk the hardest road to serve a higher truth. She was the lamp of love, leading her community back from the darkness. I hope you enjoyed another unsung hero from the Appalachian Mountains.